please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Just about 2 minutes left for pre-opening. SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com now joins us. Mr. Tulsian, good morning. A lot of stocks to discuss. Let me start with Fortis, where you have maintained a screaming buy. Your thoughts on what's happening now with the kind of pledged shares selling and a couple of influential investors buying now. Where do you see this story moving from here, and what would be the key risk factors if one were to invest now?
See, I think one has to take a call on the end results if you are taking a call on all these shares. This includes the NCLT cases as well as Fortis share also, because the thesis or the stand which I've been taking that the assets are seen to be of quality, I don't think that there are any kind of issues. In fact, maybe the RHT trust, which is being monetized by now, which is the assets of which are being acquired by the company now, seen to be a move of consolidation. Then thereafter, the investment of 4,000 crore plus will be made by Fortis in that RHT assets, but they will be receiving 27-28% in the form of dividend back from RHT trust as well, because eventually RHT trust will be distributing the entire proceed of 3,000 crore amongst their unit holders. So if you take an overall situation, I think it is heading towards the strengthening of the ownership, which was the condition for any acquirer of these assets, because company is having quality hospital assets in India, and once this consolidation happens, then that will be seen very positive, and eventually we will be seeing the change of promoter, which will be seen a big positive trigger. Because if you really want to take a call on the healthcare space, I don't think that you have this kind of size and scale available in the healthcare spaces. And in fact, in spite of the companies not reporting profits, many of them are ruling at a very good valuations. Many of them, 3 or 4, have gone public in this last couple of years. In spite of having the dull kind of financial records, the things are not seen to be bad in terms of valuation. So same thing will be seen getting repeated in case of Fortis once we see the change of promoter, which is seen inevitable maybe in the next 6 to 12 months or so.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Tulsian. Just hold on for a minute, sir. We've got the pre-opening rates coming in, and the rupee is opened even weaker. I think it's going to 64.90. So that might be a bit of a bother, but it's not bothering the equity markets as far as the pre-opening rates are concerned. At the moment, it is still following the SGX Nifty and headed higher by about 0.4. I think the Sensex has to settle down. The Nifty is indicating a 0.5% uptick, but let's wait and see. 10,400 seems conquered at this point in time. Mr. Tulsian, how would you approach Biocon? We've just got news that there were 6 observations for their Malaysian plant, and they are in the process of taking some corrective action. But how would you approach the stock?
See, obviously, these kind of news, create negative kind of things in the near term. But I don't think that they are seen to be of much serious nature, though it's very difficult to comment for one of their units. But yes, maybe in the near term, but if the stock corrects on this news, that should be used as a buying opportunity with a medium to long term.
Okay, 2 more stocks that do deserve mention in pre-opening. Ambuja Cements, by the way, is surging higher. As Nigel was telling us, it was a good top-line beat, very strong volumes and better than expected realizations. So Ambuja Cements is now up almost about 1% in trade. And the other one in the broader markets is Mahindra CIE. Very good numbers from the company this time around, especially in the European operations. So in pre-opening, Mahindra CIE is now up almost about 5-odd%.
EROS is up 20%. So that obviously that investment from Reliance is helping. So 20% higher is what we have on EROS International. Bhushan Steel is up another 8%, and Allahabad Bank is showing signs of short covering. In fact, a lot of PSU banks are. So let's see how that one pans out.
Okay, Mr. Tulsian, morning. I wanted to ask you your views on Mahindra CIE. A good set of numbers coming in. Stock is also higher. You've spoken about this in the past, but is there any merit in investing further in this name now?
See, I would say, in fact, the numbers are excellent, because what is happening, we are seeing the standalone quarterly numbers. But if you take the call on the consolidated numbers for the calendar year 2017, there has been a growth of almost 80%. And I think the consolidation phase seemed to be over for the company, all the acquisitions having turned profitable. And I am in fact taking a very positive view. There is no point in taking the standalone numbers every quarter. Because if you see the consolidated operations EPS of closer to about 10 rupees, and the kind of operating leverages which they will be seeing from their overseas subsidiary will seem to be quite high. And we have been, in fact, Mahindra CIE as one of our top pick amongst the auto ancillary space.
Okay.
No, Mr. Tulsian, if you have looked at the news on Eros and thoughts on that.
See, again, I think this kind of consolidation and stake acquisition by Reliance is going to happen because they have to now create their presence, significant presence in the content mobilization also. After Balaji Tele, though initially now they have set 5% stake in their global parent at 18% premium and 1,000 crore investments by both the promoters, in for content acquisitions and all that, is seen to be, and I won't be surprised to see the same thing happening in many of the other production houses also, because you don't get to see these kind of scale in the entertainment industry, and for Reliance Industries, this is a must, and eventually they will keep increasing their stake. So yes, move is seen to be very synergistic for Reliance Industries, but I won't be taking too optimistic view on the international, the Indian listed space at this stage.
Okay, sir. We'll leave it at that, Mr. Tulsian. Thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, it had to be a telephone conversation. We've had some technical problems there. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, the rupee, after opening at 64.90, is now at 64.85 or 86. So seeing some bit of correction over there, a positive, a little bit of strengthening. We are joined by Manish Madhavan, the Managing Director and Head of Fixed Income at HSBC on the phone line. Manish, first on the rupee, this came out of nowhere, this kind of weakness.
Morning, Lata. Yeah, rupee has been overperforming for the last 2 or 3 months, what we've seen. But I think a combination of factors which happened in the last week. One was that you saw some kind of stoppage in the dollar weakness story, and also the trade data which came a few days back, the last week. I think it added this kind of a move, and it was waiting to happen. But yes, it takes its own time, and the confluence of factors move this kind of a thing.
Okay, there were some observers talking about 64.80 as a technical support. What's the view in the bank itself? Do you think that this weakness can take it beyond 65? What is the range you're looking at?
Sure. Lata, frankly, I'm not a technical guy, but what I can say is what's been happening till now, or at least till a week back, the story has been that there has been positions in the offshore markets which have been rupee long, and also along with the dollar weakness story, this was getting along very well. In the last week or so, a combination of factors which I again reiterate, the dollar weakness getting halted, the trade deficit coming at a very high number, and some kind of mild selling by the FPIs also has led to this kind of a move, I would say. It's not something that we have turned around fully and we would be going on the other side, but yes, the long rupee positions have got unwound a bit in the system, which is reflective of these prices.
Okay, and what's your quick call on the way the bond prices have moved, and what's the expectation on the yield now?
Bond prices, yes, the yields have been going up after a small rally which happened around the policy time. We have seen again yields going up to the highest in this quarter again, and in fact they are the highest in this financial year also. I think a lot of factors are playing around. Number one is liquidity. Liquidity has come to exactly kind of a neutral stage where the system has been borrowing for the last few days. If you look at the numbers of LAF from RBI. Few things which have added to this liquidity problem also is the currency is expanding at a very, very ferocious pace. The last week number is something like 27,000 crores, and we are back to something like 17.7 trillion INR. So we are just nearing those old numbers of November where we were pre-demonetization. Second thing is the demand from the banking system, where the excess SLR is around 10% is not there. The FPIs also have been out of the market for the last 1 month or so. So I think a combination, and if you look at the supply, the way it has been panning out yesterday, state loans cut off at 8/4, which is the highest ever in this financial year again. All these factors have led to this kind of a situation. Okay. But I feel that markets should stabilize at these levels. We are already, on the higher ranges in terms of 10-year bond yields. I would expect them to stabilize at near these levels.
Okay, that would be a relief. Thank you very much, Manish Madhavan, for joining us with your quick take. So hopefully we have seen the highs for the bond yields, but not so sure on the rupee. I think the market didn't react to the rather ugly trade deficit number, and it is doing that with a lag triggered by the slight strength that we are seeing in the dollar. Well, markets are settling at a higher level. Ashwini, how will you trade at 10,425?
How much is the bank Nifty opening higher? I don't have the rates.
122 higher.
122.
Yeah, almost 25,000.
See, the idea is to sell, but try to sell, once 50% of these gains have been taken out. So if you're going to open 70 points higher, if you start to lose more than 35, that would be a good place to sell. Similarly, on the bank Nifty, if it's going to open 150 higher, the moment we start to fall below 75, because we are now ready for an extended pullback also. Now, whether it happens today or next week, nobody knows. So don't try to go short at the first tick. Just wait it out a bit. As far as 914 call is concerned, I think Tata Motors DVR you can sell even if it rallies. That's a sell with a stop of 210, target of 195.
Okay, Tata Motors DVR can be sold. The Nifty is opening about 65 points higher as far as the pre-open is concerned. Ambuja Cement, of course, is going to be one of the stocks to watch. Keep an eye on ACC as well. There's, of course, the merger pending between ACC and Ambuja. So normally these two stocks react similarly. Reliance is up about 1%. Mahindra is up 1%. Infosys is up about 1%. So it's across the board buying. In fact, 50 out of 50 on the Nifty at least showing indication
green.
That will have green opening. But what about the commodity market? Manisha Gupta now joins us with a roundup of all the action. Manisha, good morning.
Morning, Anush. Thank you so much for that. Well, it is the strength in the US dollar, the US Treasury yields trading near 4-year highs. That is putting pressure on the commodities as a sector. So while we did see the US crude oil prices gain to a 2-week highs in the US markets yesterday, we have seen some profit taking come in for Asia right now. Lots of fundamentals to watch. Well, you have the Cushing inventories at a 3-year lows, that's in US. And this week around, markets will be looking at a delayed weekly inventory data because Monday was shut for the US markets. But there have been statements from OPEC saying that they are looking to review the output cut agreement in the meeting in the month of June. But the consensus really seems to be that we will see output cuts going through across 2018. The overall global supplies also have continued to decline from where we were standing in Jan 2017 at around 340 million barrels. The global surplus now is at 74 million barrels. So there are some positive numbers coming into the global markets. But as I said, it is the strength in US dollar which is pulling the commodity prices down. And gold in that sense put a biggest day decline yesterday into the market since December 2016. We saw nearly 2% shaved off in sense of gold prices. Same was the case for silver, and many other base metals also went into profit taking. The only one that you need to keep an eye on is in case of aluminum prices. Remember, US is talking about putting import tariffs on this. And also, if you look at the LME inventories, we stood at 5.5 million tons in 2014. We are holding just around 1.3 million tons on LME inventories as of now. So near-term requirements for aluminum are on the weaker side, and that perhaps could take the prices higher.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Just 3 more minutes to go before the equity markets open, and just a couple of more stocks to look at. Dilip, Biltcon is actually inching up higher this morning as the company is now the lowest bidder for a 400 crore NHAI project. That stock has had a fabulous run in the last 6 months, so expected to move up today. And Siemens, they're looking to sell their mobility business. They have a board meeting today for that, and that stock too is up in the green. But our technical guests are still with us. So Darshan, anything on the cement space that you like? Of course, fundamentally things are looking good for Ambuja, but technically?
Well, technically, I'm rather pessimistic on ACC. So I would assume that applies to most cement companies. It's a very choppy chart, and today's news is likely to be just a one-off.
Okay. Ashwini, yesterday in closing bell, of course, you made the point that, market is showing signs of, taking positional shorts as well. Do those positional shorts stand if we have a gap up, or do you think, or should they average, or should they look at exit?
See, they should stand, because anybody who sold HDFC Bank, yesterday in the last half an hour is not suddenly going to turn around and buy it. In fact, if they had to sell, they will come back to sell at some point. So if you want to add, you can certainly add. But I don't think this rally will be sustainable for too long.
Okay. Sudarshan, what is your Nifty trade now at 10,425?
Well, the Nifty trade... It's to maintain your short position using March puts.
Okay.
If there is a rally towards 10,500, add to your short position.
Okay. Mitesh, would you trade any of the banks? I mean, PSU banks in particular. At least it seems to be starting with a bit of a short covering.
Yeah, I think a lot of stocks are now at levels wherein they bottomed out before the recapitalization movement happened. So Canara Bank had a low of around 300, it's back to about those levels, and the intraday chart is showing some signs of reversal. So if you want to trade for a 1-2 day perspective, Canara Bank, State Bank of India will be top of the list.
Okay, 1.5 more minutes to go. Okay, State Bank of India is top of the list, so now up almost about 1% over there. Also wanted to talk about some of these erstwhile gainers, the likes of Ashok Leyland, etc., that are coming back to the buyers list. That's up almost 0.5%. Yes Bank is also up almost about 1% or so. Ashwini, from the list of non-index gainers, anything that deserves a mention in terms of a buy?
Non-index gainers right now, I mean,
yeah,
the market hasn't opened.
No, in pre-opening there are a couple of them like Ashok Leyland, etc., that have moved higher. So in the near term, would you trade anything there?
See, don't get overexcited on the long side. In fact, try to get short on PSU banks at higher levels.
Okay, by the way, I just want to point out, if you're looking at Oil India down 4%, that's essentially going ex-dividend. 14 rupees is the dividend amount. The stock down 15 rupees, so 14 out of that is dividend component. Yes, crude is also down, so obviously there's a bit of a negative impact, so still down about 1 rupee, but it's not that it's going to be top lose or anything like that. It's just dividend adjustment which is taking place right now. Biocon is the other stock which is down about 2.5%, and Fortis, it's really going to be a volatile stock, so that stock also down about 1% right now as far as pre-open is concerned. Ashwini, quick thoughts on PC Jewelers. That's opening 1.5% higher right now.
So if it's going to cover shorts, then I think PC Jewelers could move up even to 400, 420. But, with PSU banks opening 1% higher, it clearly looks like more of a short covering move. So anything that has too many strongly.
Okay, Bank of India actually is heading the list of stocks moving with